Is there a polar jet stream in the Southern Hemisphere? Have you ever wondered about the powerful winds that shape our weather patterns? Today, we are focusing on a fascinating aspect of our atmosphere, the polar jet stream in the Southern Hemisphere. Yes, there is indeed a polar jet stream in the Southern Hemisphere. It primarily circles Antarctica, marking the boundary between the cold polar air and the warmer air of the mid-latitudes. This jet stream forms at the interface of the polar and Farrell circulation cells in the atmosphere, much like its counterpart in the Northern Hemisphere. The polar jet stream in the Southern Hemisphere is located in the troposphere, which is the lowest layer of the atmosphere where most weather occurs. It flows generally from west to east at high altitudes, around 30,000 feet, or about 9 kilometers above sea level. The jet stream is driven by the temperature contrast between the very cold air over Antarctica and the relatively warmer air farther north. This temperature difference creates a strong pressure gradient that causes fast-moving winds to develop along this boundary. Just like in the Northern Hemisphere, the polar jet stream in the Southern Hemisphere shifts position with the seasons. During the Southern Hemisphere summer, it tends to move closer to Antarctica. In contrast, during the winter months, it expands northward when the temperature gradient strengthens. This seasonal movement influences weather patterns around the Southern Ocean and can affect storm tracks and climate conditions in the southern mid-latitudes. One interesting fact is that the Southern Hemisphere polar jet stream is generally more continuous and less disrupted by land masses than the Northern Hemisphere jet stream. This is because Antarctica is surrounded by ocean, allowing the jet stream to circle largely unimpeded. As a result, it tends to be more stable and persistent in the south. So, to sum it up, the Southern Hemisphere does have a polar jet stream that plays an important role in the climate and weather of the polar regions and surrounding areas. It marks the boundary between cold polar air and warmer air to the north, influencing atmospheric circulation patterns around Antarctica. Understanding this jet stream gives us a clearer picture of how our planet's weather systems operate.